My pranams to all Atma Jyotis, divine light of the self. I welcome all of you for today's session on teachings of Sri Ramana Maharshi. The question asked was how to do the self-enquiry, the process of self-enquiry. Ramana Maharshi is continuing the teaching. He says, whenever thoughts arise as obstacles in one's sadhana, the mind should not be allowed to go out in their direction, but it should be made to rest in one's self, which is Atman. One should remain as witness to whatever happens, adopting the attitude, let whatever strange things happen, let us see. This should be one's practice. In other words, one should not identify with the appearances. One should not relinquish oneself. So Sri Ramana Maharshi is continuing to give the instruction on the process of self-enquiry. For self-enquiry, you have to remain as witness, the Sakshi. In fact, being the witness is the only meditation practice. It's the crux of all meditation practices, being the witness. There are so many varieties of meditation practices. So by doing meditation practice, I did get this experience, I got this experience. Okay, all these are mental games. Being witness to any of the experiences, any of the thoughts is the only meditation. Observe the body. First itself, Ramana Maharshi told, be aware of the body as if body is dead corpse. Body is inert. And you remain as Sakshi, the witness. The thoughts will come in the mind. Thoughts will rise in the mind. Do not identify with the thoughts, including the pain in the body. In earliest days, Sri Ramana Maharshi used to sit for meditation in Tiruvannamalai. His body used to be, there used to be so many mosquitoes, they used to bite him. He was absorbed in meditation. The body, almost half the body was eaten away by the mosquitoes. But still, he was silent witness to that mosquito bite. Being witness to the body and mind is the only practice which you need in spirituality. Otherwise, we identify with the mind and start thinking that I am suffering, I have happiness. You can imagine, you can say, the entire spiritual practice is to create a gap between the self and the mind. There should be a gap between the self and the mind. What is this gap all about? See, when you are close to something, you cannot see what's happening. When you are very close to something, you cannot see. Let us say you stand very close to a wall. You cannot see what is there on the wall. But if you move a step backwards, walk away from the wall, you can see the picture on the wall. You can see really what's happening on what is there on the wall. But if you are very close to the wall, you cannot see what's there. Similarly, the gap between the self, which is Sakshi, and the mind has to be increased by watching the mind. The moment you are very close to the mind, that you don't know what's happening in the mind, you become, whatever happened in the mind appears to be affecting you. Do you understand this principle of being away from the mind? If you are seeing the world through the body and mind, you are one with the mind, you are one with the body. So there's no gap between you and the mind or the body when you observe through the body and mind the world. For example, when I observe the world through my glasses, the glasses become part of my eyes. There's no gap between me and the glasses. But if I am able to observe the glasses, there is a separation between me and the glasses. Now I can see the color of the glasses, how the glasses are. So the entire spiritual journey is to create a gap between you and the mind by observing the mind, by being a witness to the mind. That's the crux of spiritual journey. Not to identify the mind, not to identify the body, is to observe the mind and the body as witness. That's all is spiritual journey. The witness is pure, the witness is silent, witness doesn't undergo any changes. Witness is the light. Stand as the witness. Thoughts, feelings, emotions and body appear and disappear in the witness. Witness is unaffected. Sri Ramana Maharshi is advising us to be a witness. Whenever thoughts arise, don't identify with the thoughts. Find out for whom the thoughts are coming. That means take your attention from the thoughts to the self, the Sakshi, the witness. So in that process, you disidentify with the thoughts, and there's a gap created between you and the mind. Now who is asking, who am I? The mind. The question is asked in the mind only. Sakshi doesn't ask the question, but mind is used. Okay. So in the process, there's a gap created between the mind and the witness, the thoughts and the Sakshi. To such an extent that Ramana Maharshi in the earlier days, when he was meditating, the whole body was eaten away by mosquitoes. But he was sitting silently without reacting to that. Because body is not what I am. The mind is not what I am. So that brings the question, does Ramana Maharshi feel the pain? What happens when there is a pain? Forget about anything else. What happens when there is a pain? Sri Ramana Maharshi had cancer, a very painful cancer called sarcoma. And in that pain, he used to moan. From his room, the sounds of moaning from the pain was coming. This pain was very severe. And people asked Ramana Maharshi, do you have pain? Ramana Maharshi said, there is pain. The pain is an object for him, not I have pain is not there. So the body reacts with the pain. Okay? But as Sakshi, you are not affected by the pain. There's a distinction between you and the pain. The severe pain of the body is observed by the Sakshi, but Sakshi itself is not affected by pain. Jesus Christ was crucified. The nails were driven through the hands and leg. It is very painful. Jesus Christ cried. The question is, does Gnani feel a pain? Gnani feels a pain just like anybody. Gnani's body feels a pain just like anybody's body. The body reacts just like anybody's body reacts. There will be tears, there may be mourning, there may be feeling of tremendous pain, tremendous pain. Okay, so Gnani's body is just like anybody's body. His body also feels the pain, and body also reacts like anybody else's body. But Gnani, he doesn't identify with the body. He sees the Sakshi, the witness. He witnesses the body pain as if he is witnessing an object. So when body is crying, Gnani can still say, I am not crying. The Sakshi doesn't cry. So there's a peace within Gnani when the body is undergoing pain. So Jesus Christ, when he reacted, his body was in pain, but the consciousness was not in pain. Consciousness was the witness. When Ramana Maharshi was going through pain of sarcoma, the cancer, the body was in pain, but as a witness, Ramana Maharshi was not in pain. He was the witnessing. And now he went through surgery. Doctors did a surgery, and Ramana Maharshi was witnessing that. So, is there a pain in the body? Yes, there is a pain in the body. But Ramana Maharshi didn't identify the body with the body. He witnessed the pain as if it's happening to an object. Same thing happened to the Tibetan monk called Milarepa. Milarepa was considered as a great saint. He was on his deathbed. He was suffering he was going through tremendous amount of suffering, a disease. Lot of pain was there. His disciples asked him, are you in pain? He said, there is pain in the body, but I am not in pain. So, the pain is common to Gnani and Adnani. But suffering is not there in Gnani, and suffering is there in Adnani. The pain, when you identify the pain, you immediately say, I don't want this pain, I don't want this pain. You start rejecting the pain, you start fighting with the pain. You means the mind. That causes the suffering. So, the difference between the pain of Gnani and the pain of Adnani is, pain is same. The reaction of the body is also same. But the mental reaction of suffering is not there in case of Gnani. He is peaceful, witnessing the pain. Same thing happened to Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa had a throat cancer. He was not able to eat food. It was very painful. And he was crying with pain. The body was reacting. But deep inside, he was peaceful and silent, serene. So Sri Ramana Maharshi says, be a witness to the body and witness to the mind. Don't identify with the body and mind. Ask, who am I? For whom this pain is there? For whom these thoughts are there? Seek the source of I thought. Now in the process what will happen? Who inquires into I thought? It's the mind. Sakshi uses the mind. Okay. Who inquires into I thought? It's the mind. Mind which is powered by Sakshi. The powering of the mind by Sakshi is called Chidabhasa. So that inquires. So now, in the process of inquiry, what happens? The knowing power, the knowing is not the ability of the mind. Knowing comes from the Sakshi. Chidabhasa gives the knowing ability for the mind. Knowing doesn't belong to the mind. Knowing is the coming from the sakshi, the awareness. But mind claims that I am the knower. In other words, mind claims the position of sakshi. I am sakshi. The knowing belongs to the sakshi, not to the mind. Mind is nothing but thoughts. Thoughts are nothing but name and form. So you need to separate out the knowing from the name and form. The awareness belongs to the sakshi. The chidabhasa belongs to the sakshi. The chidabhasa is nothing but sakshi. The chidabhasa gives the knowing ability to the mind. So separate out the knowing from the mind. There's only one knowing principle, sakshi, which is throwing light on the mind, thoughts, feelings, emotions, and body. The mind creates a body. Because for mind to exist, it needs an object. It needs a form. Mind cannot exist without a form. So, in your dream, the mind creates a dream body and experiences the dream world. Without a body, without a form, mind cannot exist. So, seek the source of the mind. Then you are going back to the formless sakshi, the witness. The mind cannot remain there. The mind starts losing its power. So gradually the mind dissolves, the ego dissolves, if you inquire into true nature. So being sakshi means being fully alert and aware. It is not unconsciousness. Many of the people in meditation, they enter into samadhi. Samadhi means you are not conscious of anything, outer world. Okay. Samadhi means there is no consciousness of the outer world. So I don't know what happened. Then what happened? The mind became subtle. The subtle mind became, you are one with the subtle mind. But when you are a sakshi, you are witnessing the mind. You are witnessing the subtlest mind. You are fully alert, aware. A person in samadhi may not feel the pain when you press a needle into your hand. It's almost like being in unconscious, coma or anesthesia. Whereas a person who is witnessing, he will feel the pain. That's the difference. Right? What is the difference? The sakshi is fully alert, aware. In samadhi, the body and mind has become subtle and has become one with the self. That happens in your sleep. In sleep, the world and body become subtle and they are there as part of consciousness. They are absorbed into consciousness. So in the deep sleep, you may not feel the mosquito bite. You may not feel small pains. Because there is no awareness of the mind or the body. Everything is absorbed into the self. That's called, same thing happens in samadhi also. A person in samadhi may not feel the pain. But a person who is witnessing will feel the pain. But he feels the pain is there in the body, I am witnessing. That difference is there. So finally, the purpose of enlightenment or meditation is to become fully sakshi, fully aware of what's happening, but not getting identified there. In the process, slowly, the mind dissolves, the ego dissolves. And really sakshi alone remains. The pure self alone shines. So Ramana Maharshi prescribes that be a witness to the mind. Don't get dragged by don't get identified with the thought process of the mind. Who identifies the thought process of the mind? The I thought identifies. I thought says I am the self. And it starts identifying with the other thoughts. Now, who is the real self? If you start asking, the question is there in the mind. The real self, which is awareness, gets separated out from the mind. The Sakshi remains. So, Ramana Maharshi's teaching is the entire meditation process is to be a Sakshi or the witness. Okay, let us take this somebody pain for somebody. Okay, there is a pain for anybody. So, what are the means of what we can do? We can avoid the pain. Okay, we can start looking somewhere else. Something is painful, we watch a TV and try to forget a pain. We try to divert our attention from the pain. Why? The ego is trying to avoid the pain. Right? And in case of yogi, if there is a pain in the body, he may enter into samadhi. Okay, where body and mind are subtle, so there is no pain. It's like almost like an unconscious or anesthetic stage. Whereas Sri Ramana Maharshi will just witness the pain. He will not divert his attention. He will not go into samadhi to avoid pain. Just observe the pain as if it's happening to an object which has nothing to do with the object. So in that way, a gap is created between the self and the non-self. Self is the Atma, non-self is the body. And who creates the non-self? The mind creates the non-self. Mind creates the body. Body is nothing but a projection of the mind and identifies with it. So when you don't, and takes the position that I am the self. So the mind or the ego, one hand it says I am the self, and other hand it says I am the body. So ego is a really unreal entity. It mixes the consciousness with the body. So through process of self-enquiry, Atma Vichara, you have to separate out. It is like a marriage party. In the marriage party, the boys' sides are there, girls' side is there. There are some people who come, they are well dressed and they talk to others, everybody very happily, merrily. People think the girl side thinks he is the boy side and boy side thinks that the girl side. These people enjoy. Once boy side gets doubt, who is this person? They ask the girl side. The girl side says they think he is a boy side. When both of them inquire, this intruder disappears. He doesn't stay there. The ego is the intruder. The body is the girl side. The consciousness is the boy side. The ego takes the position, I am the body. So when you really inquire, the ego disappears. What remains is the pure self. So this is the teaching of Sri Ramana Maharshi. Be the witness. The witness is not an activity, witness is the self. The self is not involved in any activity either way. The mind alone takes the position of the self. So in any thought process, there is knower, known and known. Jnana, Jneya, Jnatra. The knower, known and object. Here, the knower is really the Sakshi. The mind takes the position of Sakshi and says, I am the knower. That's the ego. Really knower or the knowing principle is Sakshi. Mind starts saying, I am the knower. So that's why it creates identity. The knowing you separate from the mind, this mind is just a name and form. Okay, knowing is not the function of the mind. So when you are established as the witness, the presence and the absence of the body and mind or the world doesn't matter. Stay as witness. Then Ramana Maharshi continues to say, this is how Manonasha has to be done. The only way to do Manonasha is by staying as witness, the Sakshi. Any thought comes, don't chase the thought. Ask for whom the thoughts are coming. Go back to the witness. Okay. By this process, manonasha or destruction of the thought happens. Sri Ramana Maharshi says, people call something as bhakti, devotion. something they call as dhyana, something they call as yoga or concentration, and something they call as jnana. The essence of bhakti, jnana, yoga and meditation, dhyana, is only one thing which is there to be witnessed, the sakshi. By the process of asking, who am I? Don't be confused by the word called bhakti, devotion. So, what do we call as devotion? So, by this processes, one who goes through this process is established as witness. Witness is nothing but God. He shines as I, real I, awareness in the heart. And Ramana Maharshi says, all the scriptures say thought is the bondage. And best discipline is to stay as the witness, silent, without forgetting Him, means God. Who is that God? The Atma, awareness, real I principle, Sakshi. And then what you do? Merge the mind with the I principle, merge the mind with God. What is the meaning of merging the I with the God, mind with the God? The I thought, real I thought is nothing but self. The knowing principle of knowing part of the I thought, the when I say I, it is a knowing principle. The knowing principle is the self. Resolve that knowing principle in the self. That means mind is merged in the self. So this is the essence of teaching of all the scriptures, Sri Ramana Maharshi says. See, we say, hey, he's a great devotee, a bhakta. Okay? Without understanding what is bhakti means. I had gone to one temple. There one person was being given a special darshan. People are saying, he's a great devotee. He's great bhakta. How do you know he's a great bhakta? What makes him great bhakta? See, he has given 5 kg of gold necklace to the God. So, he is bhakta when somebody gives a big donation to God temple. He is bhakta one who goes to temple or prays, goes around the temple. He is bhakta one who chants God's name millions of times. Sri Ramana Maharshi says, bhakta means ego has to be surrendered. The one who has surrendered the ego is bhakta, the devotee. Right? None of these external symbols don't indicate bhakti. The person may be crying with devotion, the person may be singing with devotion. They are all external symbols. The real symbol of devotion, real sign of devotion is surrender of ego. How do you surrender the ego? The only way to surrender the ego is by inquiring who really I am. Otherwise, in devotion, the devotee is there and God is there. There is a separation, there is an ego. Right? As long as there is ego, there is a separation, and as long as there is separation, the illusion is there. Only when you surrender the ego, there is a reality, there is a real devotion. How do you surrender the ego? Only through self-inquiry. There is no other way. Find out real I. You understand that I, what you call as I or I thought is not the real I. The real I is the Atma, the Sakshi, the witness. So Ramana Maharshi says this is called devotion, bhakti. And this is called dhyana, meditation. People do so many meditation practices. Okay, there are thousands of meditation practices, but the purpose of all meditation practices is to become Sakshi. So people say, I did this meditation, I got a beautiful experience. Okay, wonderful experience, divine light came. So what has happened? Who is that I? That I has not gone. The ego has not gone. So you have identified the experiencer. That's a method of dhyana, but real dhyana is when you really become the witness, the Sakshi. Jnana. What is jnana? Atma jnana. Atma jnana is to understand I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the intellect, I am pure consciousness. That is jnana. So people think that study of 10 different scriptures is jnana. Finally, the essence of that is I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the intellect, I am pure consciousness. ನಾನು ನಾನೆಂಬುದು ನಾನಲ್ಲ. ಈ ದೇಹ ಮನ ಬುದ್ಧಿ ನಾನಲ್ಲ. ಸಚ್ಚಿದಾನಂದಾತ್ಮ ಶಿವನಾನ್ ನಾನೇ, ಶಿವೋಹಂ ಶಿವೋಹಂ. That alone is jnana. In that jnana, you are the sakshi, the witness. So the mind is the cause of all obstacles, bandha and mukti. The freedom from the mind can happen only when the I thought is inquired into. Then the I thought resolves in the self, Atma. And the Atma is the Sakshi, the witness, the silent, pure witness. That leads to destruction of the mind, manonasha. Destruction of the mind means destruction of the ego, which identifies body with the self. That is gone. And there is no duality. There is no I and the other, because the self or awareness is non-dual. Then what about the world which I see? Does the Jnani see the world? Jnani sees the sun, moon. Ego thought is gone. But because the body and mind, the body is there, can he see the objects? He sees the objects, he sees the body, but he knows it's mithya or unreal. The self alone is real, the body, mind and the world is unreal. So the self is real and the mind, the world, body and mind is unreal. So there's no duality. The world is not dual for the real self. The shadow is not dual, shadow doesn't pose the duality for the me. I am real, the shadow is unreal. The world and body is unreal. That doesn't cause a feeling of duality in Jnani. There's no duality, even though he sees the world. It's as good as saying you are watching a movie. Okay? Initially you got involved in the movie. You thought, identified with the hero. Then you start crying when the hero is being beaten. You are identified. But suddenly you realize this is a movie. The movie is there. Now you don't cry. Hero is beaten or hero is killed. You don't cry because it's unreal. Similarly for Jnani, the body and the mind and the world is unreal. Only the self is real. That's why no duality is there. There's no Advaita. And because the ego disappears, gradually all the vasanas disappear. There's a cessation of all the vasanas. And this is what is called God realization. Realization of self as Sakshi, or realization of self as Sakshi or the Atma is God realization. Realization of self, realization of I am self, I am the Sakshi is called Atma Darshanam, knowing the self. Atma Darshanam is Brahma Darshanam, it is knowing God. But then don't start to look for some other God. That is God. The self is God. Brahma Darshanam, Satya Darshanam, that is the that is realization, the truth. So this is the teaching of Sri Ramana Maharshi. The self and the Brahman, the individual self, Sakshi, is the God, Brahman. So this has to be recognized through self-enquiry. This is the teaching of Sri Ramana Maharshi. Then he proceeds with the next question. Next question we will take up tomorrow. Are there any questions? Let us sit silently for some time. Close your eyes. Become aware of surroundings. I am of the nature of awareness. The surroundings are appearances in my mind in the form of thoughts. I am the witness of the mind. Become aware of the body. Body is jada, inert. I am the Chaitanya, the consciousness. I am witness of the body. Any pain or any sensation in the body, just witness silently without reacting, as if body is an object. I am the awareness, pure awareness, Sakshi. I am the eternal witness. I am of the nature of peace and bliss. Thoughts appear and disappear in the mind. I am the observer of the mind. I am unaffected by the mind. I am the Sakshi, the witness. Peaceful, blissful. The world, the body, and the mind are just appearances in consciousness, like a dream. I am the witness of the dream called body, mind, and the world. I am not affected by the body, mind, and the world. I am of the nature of peace and bliss. Any thought comes, inquire, who am I? It's a non-verbal inquiry. Shift your attention to the real I, Sakshi. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamuduchyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Lokaha samastaha Sukhino bhavantu. Lokaha samastaha Sukhino bhavantu. Lokaha samastaha Sukhino bhavantu. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Gently rub your hands. Give warmth to the eyes. So with this, we'll conclude today's session. Anybody has a question or any feedback? If there are no questions, let us close for the day. Namaste. Hari Om.